All right, I just got doing a historical biopsy on the Dolphins drafting process from 2007 to 2022 on the offensive line. And, some people were a little bit depressed and a little concerned for 2023. And really, obviously, there should be an element of concern. The offensive line should be a focus. But there are so many ways to boost the production of this offensive line. I'll get into that a little bit later on. I'll touch on it on this podcast after I do the main portion. Now, the main portion is I get so many great comments. I love them. But Angel, you can see here, is a guy that comments a lot and has great thoughts. This one really was thought-provoking. He says, it looks tragic, although to be fair, it would be useful to compare it to other teams in the AFC for perspective. But it looks bad either way. It's been obvious for a while that it's not coaching. Well, I do believe there's obviously always elements of coaching. If we had Dante Scarnecchia in, we would see a higher level of production than what we've seen so far. But it's not all coaching. But what I want to do, and this will get us prepped for this really exciting Super Bowl that's coming up, Philadelphia Eagles versus the Kansas City Chiefs. And this is going to start this is going to be a way of touching on the Dolphins, adding context to the prior podcast, helping Dolphin fans understand how winning teams are building their offensive line and how that comes about. But then it will be able to, if you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan or a Kansas City fan, you'll appreciate this as well, because both these teams have done a masterful job on the offensive line. Now, there's a few teams that consistently do well with their offensive line, and these two teams are in a group, so it's going to be interesting on many, many fronts. So, Angel, thank you for that comment. I enjoyed it. Hey, to get me back to the offensive line, I suppose. So, I just want to say thanks for stopping by. I appreciate everything you guys do. I want to give you a shout out and a shout out to Eich, my sponsor, because without you, without them, this show ain't going down. Eich betting software is the premier white label platform for bookies to manage their players and grow their sportsbook operation. Click the link in the description below to get set up in minutes. Ask for the Curtis promo and get a special introductory discount. All right, here's a great little tweet that I saw, and I'm going to start out with that because I think it's going to put the really a nice lens on how exciting this game is going to be. Now, Field Yates, good poet. Good Irish poet. Put this up here, and I thought it was really good, so I'm going to throw it up here for you to see. Chiefs this year, 16-3 overall record, 546 points scored, 6 All-Pros, including a Kelsey brother and their quarterback, AFC's number 1 seed. The Eagles this year, 16-3 overall record, 546 points scored, 6 All-Pros, including a Kelsey brother and their quarterback, NFC's number 1 seed. Interesting parallels. Now, I'm going to get into the matchups. I think there's a little bit of imbalance here for one team or another, but I'm not going to get into that right now. But there's another parallel between these two teams, and it's their offensive lines. They have phenomenal offensive lines. And so I want to go over both these teams and show you how they built it, how they acquired it, and one team did it really fast. KC, they lost the Super Bowl to the Tampa. Mahomes was just wrecked when both of his tackles went down. And that O-line just fell apart, and he was ruined in that Super Bowl game. And then they rebuilt the thing, like overnight. It was an unbelievable job. Now, Philly, they've been building that offensive line for a long, long time. Everybody's homegrown, which is really amazing. So I'm going to go do Philly first because KC is an AFC team, and I'm going to save the best for last. So Philadelphia Eagles, you'll see this little graphic I got here. It's from PFF. Now you'll see at center, they got the number 2 center in the league, Kelsey. He was drafted in 2011, and you'll see the snaps right next to his 88.9 grade, 1,284 snaps. And that's something you're going to see between these two teams. Chemistry built over long amounts of reps together. Critical aspect. Now, Dillard, that was their first round pick. He's a backup. He's slow to develop. But they don't really need him to. They're developing him. And then you got Sumalo, ninth best guard in the league, 1,276 reps. Then you got Landon Dickerson, guard, 16th best in the league, 1,220 reps. Driscoll, he's a tackle. He was picked up in 2020. He's kind of like Dillard, slow grower. They're building him up through the ranks. And he's there. Those are the two main backups. Then you got Malata. He's the 10th best, but notice where he's taken. 7th round, 233 overall. Now, that's unbelievable. 6'8", 365, 1,168 reps. This was 10th best tackle in the league. And then you got Lane Johnson, who's the 5th best, and he was obviously number 1 pick, 4th overall. And he's got 1,099. So he had some reps taken away from him, picked up by Driscoll. But look at that offensive line. 2nd best center, 9th best guard, 16th best guard, 10th best tackle, 5th best tackle, and every single one of them having just about 1,100 reps over the course of the season together. That's how you get chemistry. Now, on the right side of this little thing here, you'll see their names again. You'll see Johnson, Dillard, Kelsey, Juergens, Samalo, Dickerson, and Malata. Look at the pressures. 8 by Johnson allowed for the season. 8 by Kelsey for the season. 13 by Siumalo for the season. 14 by Dickerson. And Malata, 28, which is a little high. He had a better season last year. But that's your whole amount of pressures. You've got 6 sacks allowed from these offensive linemen. Cam Juergens, I just threw him in there. He shouldn't have been there. Accidental graphic mistake. So that's 6 sacks allowed. And I don't know, what is it, about 50, 60 pressures. Unbelievable. We got 2 guys that gave up more than 60 pressures on the Dolphins offensive line. And these guys are all homegrown. And you can see here, there was some late hits. You got Kelsey taken in the 6th round, and he's a Hall of Famer. You got Malata, 7th round, and he is 10th best starting for you and an anchor for your team. This is critical. This is how you build an offensive line. It doesn't come over one season, unless you like KC. But over time, you build these guys, and offensive linemen are guys that can last for a long time. And when you acquire enough of these guys, then you hit that peak time. And they're hitting a perfect time for this offensive line. Now, I'm going to move on to KC. The Eagles did it over the long haul all through the draft. And when they finally got the quarterback, it all kind of came together in an unbelievable way. Now, KC was in a different, they won the Super Bowl, went back to the Super Bowl, offensive line imploded, injuries, quarterback got killed, and they wanted to not miss that window, so they rebuilt this thing overnight. And it's a masterful job, guys. And it shows that even this offseason, with all the problems that are going on, as far as maybe cap and trying to find the right guy, and is Eichenberg and Jackson going to be the dudes or not? We can find guys to fill this thing out. With given how good Fangio is, how good this defense is, how good our skills are. And, Tua coming back, he needs to stay healthy. But we can pull it all together. Look at KC, what they did. So take a look at this graphic here, and you'll see Creed Humphreys, best center in the league. Notice those 2. Okay, so he had 1,275 reps. Then you got Thuney, who they got from the Patriots, who they let go because they had a bunch of good offensive lines, 6th best guard in the league, and he's got 1,136 reps. Then you got Trey Smith, who they picked up in the 6th round. The same year they got Creed. Same year they got Creed in the 2nd round and Smith in the 6th round, and he is the 11th best guard, and he played 1,176 reps. Then you got Gaho, they got in the 6th round. He's a backup. They're developing him. Then they got Orlando Brown, who they traded for. They got him from the Ravens, and they gave a lot. Let's look to see. He's the 18th best with 1,270 reps. And you'll see down below in the little blue square, the Chiefs traded their 2021 first-round pick, 31st overall, a 3rd rounder, 4th rounder, and a 22 5th rounder in exchange for Brown, a 2021 2nd rounder, and a 2022 6th rounder. Now, I want you to notice they took that 2nd rounder that they got from the Ravens, and that gave them 2 2nd rounders. They used the first one to get their linebacker. And Bolton was a guy who I loved. They needed a linebacker, and that gave them the flexibility for like 5 picks later to get Humphreys. And Humphreys was a hit of hits. Now, we could have had him, and it's not to say we didn't, we suck, but you see, they gave a ton away to get Brown, who they needed, and then they nailed both those picks. Got the leader for their defense, and then they picked up unbelievable center. And so that really showed masterful maneuverability. And then later on in that, with Trey Smith, they got him in the 6th round, but they also, the year before, got, you'll see down here, Louis Niang, who was their 3rd round pick, and he was playing phenomenal last year for them. He was their starter, and he played excellent. And he went down, you'll see here, only 10 reps before he went down for the season. It was a brutal blow. But Andrew Wiley, who's the undrafted player they got in 2017, he stepped in, and he's not too good. The 63rd tackle in the league. And clearly the movement skills of Mahomes helps out a ton. But this is what I said last year. When you got Teron, and you got Connor, and you got Hunt, if you get somebody to lock down that left guard spot, you can bring protections through play call, through scheme, and through supplemental blocking help on that exterior right guard. And so Dolphins could do exactly this if they solidify that left guard spot and Teron stays healthy. And then they bring in a supplemental player at the tight end position that can help. Either the full blocking or the chip and go or the threat of the chip and go. All these things are ways to protect a lesser tackle. And this guy, Wiley's undrafted, and he's not playing the greatest. He's not playing terrible, but he's not playing the greatest. But yet they're in a Super Bowl. And this is how you can get by with 4 really good guys. And obviously they got Kelsey, who's a great blocker. And they have a movement skills with Mahomes, and they play call the short game in order to offset this stuff. And so now we'll look at the other side. Oh, I forgot to mention the Thuney deal. They paid a ton for him, $80 million deal. $32 million over the first 2 years guaranteed. So they brought him in with big money. He's been healthy. He's helped them. So you don't always have to draft through it. You just have to make the right purchases as well. And we did that with Connor. To me, Connor is a winning move. We got to sign him, lock him up. We got to lock up Hunt. And we got to hope now Teron stays healthy and find some guy in that left guard position that can challenge Eichenberg and play average. And you can get this thing to work. So that's what they got so far as their build. 3 guys through the draft, 2 guys taken extremely late, 1 guy taken at the tail end of the 2nd round, and then 2 guys brought in through free agency. So, we're close in some regard, but it's the missing of the picks that's really, really hurting us. But we can fix that this season with our picks. But it doesn't have to be an offensive line. It could be that tight end, and that's what I want to talk about. So over here, you'll see Joe Thuney, 15 pressures. Creed Humphreys, 13 pressures. Orlando Brown, 37 pressures. Kelsey, you see right here, 71.4. Excellent pass blocking grade. Trey Smith, 22 pressures. And you see Wiley, 32 pressures. That's a decent amount of pressures, but you can see the sacks are kind of lowish at, 8, 11, 12, which is, doable. When you look at our stuff, there's a little bit of problems. You'll see Eichenberg let up I don't know, 40 or 50 pressures. I can't remember. It was some crazy amount. So does Shell, and then whoever was fitting in there. Teron was unbelievable. So if Teron could stay healthy, if you can get that guard to help Connor out to limit some of his pass blocking issues, Hunt is going to improve with that help. And then you can kind of leave Jackson on his own. Maybe he will get a little bit better and get into that wily range or whatever it is. So this is a little bit of a high pressures, but again, you also have to remember with this, Mahomes likes to hold the ball. He likes to scramble around. He doesn't really take his first read. And so he kind of puts pressure on these offensive linemen, but these offensive linemen are excellent. Louis Niang, right there, he had 19 pressures on the season last year. So they got him in the third round. And look what he's doing. He was doing in his second season. So this is where we're at. I kind of spilled the beans on some of this. The Dolphins have Teron. He stays healthy. Unbelievable stuff. Even if he misses 2 or 3 games, it's not like some of these grievous injuries. If Eichenberg steps up, or you get a guy in there who could play at that slightly above average or better range, it will flow all protection down the line. Connor will have a lot less problems pass blocking. A lot of reasons he has pass blocking issues is because he's helping one guy and he's got to peel off to go that way, and then he gets burnt. There's all kind of reasons for that. I mean, not all of that, but there is a lot of that in there. Plus, you can add the run blockers. You can add the tight end. Hunt will pick up. He was the 8th most penalized player in the league. That's got to get fixed. And then you got Jackson, who's likely going to start at the right tackle role. You can support him. He might take that step up where he gets into that average to slightly above average range. I could maybe buy that. It's another year for this young kid to build his physical ability up and to play decent. I am just highly concerned about Eichenberg. He was totally lost last year, totally weak. I think that guy needs at least 2 or 3 more years in the oven. But we'll see. So clearly, KC and Philly have unbelievable lines. KC was able to take the loss of a really good player for them and still keep it going because the quality across the board on the rest of the field. So offensive lines make the NFL world go around. And this is how these two teams built their offensive lines. Compare that, as I showed you in my video previously, of how the Dolphins have built it. There are some similarities. There's some closeness, but the gulf is still far. They just need really one more player. That left guard spot needs to be filled because it breaks the chain of quality and protection and blocking. You can have that weakish right guard, but if you have the weakish right tackle, but if you have the weakish left guard, it breaks things up. And you can't have Teron having to babysit the left guard and Connor having to babysit the left guard and then Hunt having to babysit the right tackle. It don't work. One player, and it's not that hard, guys. And it doesn't have to be a great player. So anyway, here you go. I hope you enjoyed. It's a key element building this offensive line. We got to hope the Dolphins do that. They have the tools. They can do it. We just got to hope they do it. Again, I'll point out, there's still a bug in my butt. We missed Zach Tom last year, and he would have filled this thing up like you wouldn't believe. Anyway, this year, I hope we get Zach Tom 2.0. Anyway, Curtis saying, catch you next time. Be well. Go Phins. We're close, guys. We really are. There's so many ways to get this thing right. Catch you next time. Be well. Start building your own online sports book today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.